I want to talk about this signal thing again with the Houthis. It's interesting to me that the Democrats are losing their loving mind over this. There was no classified information that was being shared over Signal. Signal is an encrypted app that's somewhat secured. Was the conversation something that could have happened or should have happened? I don't know, but at least it was a conversation. But to compare the two between Hillary Clinton and what President Trump's cabinet members were doing is absolutely absurd. It's not even comparing apples and oranges. At least both of those are somewhat in the same shape. This is like comparing an apple to a steak. There is no comparison at all between the two. Hillary Clinton was sending classified documents that were stamped TS or TSSCI. There was no classified documents. There was no classified information. It may have been sensitive, but it was an open conversation that was taking place over an important issue. And we should be glad that the conversation took place. You could see that people had input. It was thoughtful. It was collective. And at the end of the day, they did the right thing. They went right after this terrorist organization and shut them up. Thank God we have a president that's leading from...
All right, guys, so we got to follow up on our coverage of the #1 story that the mainstream liberal media is going to be talking about all week. And it's not the domestic terrorism that is happening in this country, right, that is being done by far-left extremists, which should be the #1 story, right? What we should be talking about is the fact, again, that we have people committing acts of terrorism in our own country, right? Since the conversations about national security and security within our own country, right? You would think that, again, far-left extremists bombing Teslas, okay, in dealerships would be the #1 story that they would be freaking out about. But no. They're freaking out about text messages, right? Text messages that were accidentally, or who knows, maybe intentionally, I don't know at this point, but they were leaked to Jeffrey Goldberg, okay, the Trump deranged propagandist at the Atlantic. Jeffrey Goldberg is claiming that, hey, these conversations had classified information. They were war plans, even though we haven't really seen the war plans yet, right? But he claims there were war plans in the chat, okay? However, again, the Trump administration is coming out and they're pushing back against some of these claims.
The press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, just wrote this about the author. She said, Jeffrey Goldberg is well known for his sensationalist spin. Here are the facts about his latest story. No war plans were discussed. No classified material was sent to the thread. The White House counsel's office has provided guidance on a number of different platforms for President Trump's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. As the National Security Council stated, the White House is looking into how Goldberg's number was inadvertently added to the thread. And the initial thinking is that his number was added to the contact card of a staffer who was supposed to be there.
I was invited a couple of weeks ago to connect with Michael Waltz, the National Security Advisor. That didn't strike me as particularly strange, given my job. On Saturday, the 15th of March, when I was shared on a text in this group from somebody purporting to be Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, and this text contained operational military information.
And that point, the centerpiece of the story, is directly refuted by the defense secretary.
I've heard I was characterized, nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
And we do expect to hear from the CIA Director John Ratcliffe later on today that Signal, this commercial-free encrypted messaging app, is something that intelligence agencies rely on and that it lives on systems and servers used by the CIA, among others.
Yeah, so you say that, you heard that. Okay, the Trump administration, they're pushing back. They're saying, hey, there were no war plans in this chat, which, again, I haven't seen any war plans in the chat. There's also no classified information, which also, by the way, I haven't seen any classified information either. Because if the quote-unquote war plans or the text messages that have been made public, if that was classified, then Jeffrey Goldberg, he should be facing some charges, right? If that's the case. So just the fact that Jeffrey Goldberg is not facing any like backlash or any type of, charges or anything like that for what he's already put out, just using basic common sense already tells you that what has been put out, again, it's not classified, right? Because if it was, then Jeffrey Goldberg will be in some big trouble. But since he's not in trouble, that means that what was put out is not classified. Okay, now what he claims that he has, the other information he has, who knows? Okay, he says that it is classified, right? He's determined that because apparently, according to him, he has the judgment of determining what's classified and what's not classified. Regardless, the White House is saying that there was no classified information. Also, on top of that, Signal apparently is something that is used quite often within the government. Again, like I said in my initial reaction to this story, a lot of this stuff is being exaggerated and overblown because the media is taking advantage of people's ignorance when it comes to these types of situations. And that's what's happening, right? And again, I'm not saying it's not a serious situation. I'm not even saying somebody shouldn't face accountability for it. I just don't think that this is the bombshell that the media is putting out there. So we're going to see exactly what happens with this situation, because I think that honestly it's probably going to end up going away. And one of the reasons why it's going to end up going away is because the ball is now in Jeffrey's court to prove that, hey, these messages that you claim that you have, that you say are classified, do you actually have them? And I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about some more information that the Trump administration has put out here, because President Trump has revealed who was behind the Signal text chain link, okay? The president revealed that a staffer with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz's office included the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic in a Signal group chat with senior Trump officials who were discussing plans for an upcoming strike on Houthi rebels in Yemen. Quote, "It was one of Michael's people on the phone. A staffer had his number on there," Trump told NBC in a phone interview when asked how Jeffrey Goldberg, the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, was added to the high-profile chat. The president added that Goldberg's inclusion in the group chat had no impact at all on the strike in Yemen. Yeah, so what President Trump is saying is that apparently it wasn't Mike Waltz who added Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat. It actually was an aide or a staffer who works for Mike Waltz. And in my opinion, this makes a lot of sense because, like I told you guys in my initial reaction to this story, even Jeffrey Goldberg himself admitted that I don't know if the actual cabinet secretaries are in this group chat due to the fact that in the group chat, the messages seem to suggest that the secretaries had representatives that were speaking on their behalf, right? So we don't know who is in the group chat. And this is why, I try to tell people that, hey, you should not come to any conclusion in regards to what's going on here, any definitive conclusion, until we get more information. Because again, we don't even know who was in the chat and who actually was saying what, right? To be honest with you. So if what President Trump says is true, if Mike Waltz's staffer is the person that added Jeffrey Goldberg to the group chat, then he should be fired, okay? And that is where I disagree with the president and I disagree with the GOP, at least initially as of right now, in regards to their response to this. Somebody has to get fired, okay? Whoever put Jeffrey Goldberg in that chat has to be fired, okay? I really think they're making a mistake not firing somebody. I think this story is overblown, but I do think somebody has to be fired, okay? It might not be Mike Waltz, okay? If he wasn't the one that added Jeffrey Goldberg, if it was his staffer, then his staffer should be fired. But regardless, somebody should be fired, okay?
Yes, Mr. President, you asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome, world. We had a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Radcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes. and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on, and it's an honor to be part of it.
But I think it's something you should look into.
Yes, sir, we are. We have our technical experts looking at it. We have our legal teams looking at it. And of course, we're going to keep everything as secure as possible. No one in your national security team would ever put anyone in danger. And as you've said, and we've repeatedly said, the attack was phenomenal and it's ongoing. But the media wants to talk about everything else except for the hostages you're getting out of the Middle East, Iran on its back foot, sea lanes getting reopened, peace in Europe. As we just saw today with a Black Sea ceasefire, we were just on with Steve Witkoff, myself, our team in Saudi Arabia. They want to talk about all this other stuff except for your amazing successes and the success.
So with that being said, I want to react to this hearing that was already scheduled for today, which, by the way, what a coincidence. Jeffrey Goldberg releases this information right before this hearing. I'm pretty sure that was on purpose. But the Democrats, again, the same party that told us that Hillary Clinton's email scandal, which was way worse than what happened with this group chat, text messages, they're going to fake outrage and try to get gotcha questions on Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe and Cash Patel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be happy to take your extra 13 seconds, but I want to go back to what I addressed at the outset. I mean, this was not only sloppy, it not only violated all procedures, but if this information had gotten out, American lives could have been lost. The Houthis had this information, could reposition.
You know, American lives were actually lost during the Afghanistan withdrawal. But again, were Democrats outraged by that? No, they weren't outraged by it. Okay, they wanted to ignore it and move on. Right now, they claim that they're concerned about the lives of American members of the military. When, again, they weren't this outraged by the incompetence of the Biden administration when it came to the Afghanistan withdrawal. Again, it's amazing how that works. What they choose to be concerned about and what they choose not to be concerned about.
Their defensive systems. So I want to get a little more information about this. Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not, are you denying, Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat?
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security Council.
Because it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
stated, is it classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Radcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a signal messaging group.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I provide some context, Senator, to that?
Yes, but I've got a series of questions.
Well, but I think it's important because at the outset you made a couple of comments about signal messaging using encrypted apps. So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
Director Ratcliffe, I've got a series of questions.
As I've been saying, the whole use of signal thing, again, it's a fake outrage talking point from the media, right? Because I guarantee you, okay, that these same types of conversations were happening during the Biden administration. Doesn't make it right. I'm just pointing out that the outrage here is literally because they can spin this into Trump deranged propaganda rather than the fact that the government is using signal, okay? Because again, if they were so outraged by this, they should have been outraged when the Biden administration was using this app probably to communicate information that could be considered to be classified. Wouldn't have any doubts that probably what was happening under the Biden administration. Again, one of the reasons why this is happening is because of the Democrats and their refusal to hold Hillary Clinton accountable, which opened up the door for this type of practice to become more common, even amongst government officials at the highest level.
Many people in the intelligence community use Signal. They have communication all the time. Is that not correct?
Lawrence, that is correct. In fact, I bet a bunch of those senators that you see at the hearing today are using Signal as well to
100%.
speak to each other or to speak to their aides. And it is my understanding that the Biden administration authorized Signal as a means of communication that was consistent with presidential record-keeping requirements for its administration, and that continued into the Trump administration. It's simply another messaging app like the iMessage app on your iPhone or email servers that every administration has set up, in which senior administration officials can communicate with each other.
So again, Democrats that are boohoo whine and cry about this, again, they can only blame themselves, because had they not let Hillary off the hook, then you wouldn't have these type of situations occurring. Again, that's not trying to relieve any type of accountability or responsibility from the person who screwed up, which apparently is the staffer of Mike Waltz. I, again, think that he should be fired, but I'm just saying that, again, Democrats are the people who set the precedent for this type of stuff, okay? And they're crying the most about it, when we all know they don't think it's that big of a deal, because, again, they didn't think Hillary's emails were that big of a deal. So why is it that all of a sudden now you think this is a big deal, but Hillary's emails weren't, right? These same people, if they actually were sincere, they should be calling for the arrest of Hillary Clinton, okay, along with whatever they're doing right now. But since they're not calling for the arrest of Hillary Clinton, okay, or for Hillary Clinton to be held accountable, this is fake, right? It's all fake, in my opinion, okay? It's all fake.
Questions. If you're making the statement, making the statement, the Signal is a secure channel.
No, can I answer that? It is
I've got a series
end-to-end decryption. So
it is.
To finish,
I understand encryption.
It is permissible to use to communicate and coordinate for work purposes, provided, Senator, that any decisions that are made are also recorded through formal channels. Right. So those were procedures that were implemented. My staff implemented those processes, followed those processes, complied with those processes, and finally, just please. So my communications, to be clear, in a Signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful, and did not include classified information.
Well, we will make that determination, because if it's not classified, share the text with the committee. Let me go on. Director Gabbard, you are the security executive and set access guidelines for classified information. Did you contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a SCIF?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question. If this was Director Gabbard, if this was a rank and file intelligence officer who did this kind of careless behavior, what would you do with them?
Senator, I'll reiterate that there was no classified material that was shared in that.
And if there's no classified materials, share. And then if there's no classified materials, then you can't even answer the question whether you're on the chat. This is strangely familiar, and I think my colleagues will remember, when you couldn't answer the question, is Edward Snowden a traitor? Man, I have serious doubts about anyway. Director Gabbard, I'm going to give you this. Tweeted just 11 days ago, and I'm quoting you. Any unauthorized release of classified information is a violation of the law and will be treated as such. So if this information is classified, what are you going to do?
Senator, 2 points here. First of all, there's a difference between inadvertent release versus
careless and sloppy,
malicious leaks of classified information. The second point is there was no classified information that was on the
Signal committee should get that information. Director Patel, my time's about out, and I'm going to use my 12 seconds that the chairman gave me. Director Patel, has the FBI launched any investigation of this?
Senator, I was just briefed about it late last night, this morning. I don't have an update.
I would like to get an answer by the end of the day.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, fascinating situation. And the reason why it's so fascinating is because John Ratcliffe, okay, who is not a rookie, by the way, right? These people these are rookies. And one of the reasons why I kind of knew this was overblown, right? Especially these people talk about, this is classified information. John Ratcliffe was in Tulsi's position under the first Trump administration. So he definitely knows what's allowed and what's not allowed, right? In the sense that I don't think that he would be posting in that chat had he thought that what he was doing was unlawful. Again, as he testified, hey, the use of this app is permissible, okay? And we were using it to have conversations that were permissible to have on that app, right? Because, again, a lot of people in the government apparently use Signal. Now, Jeffrey Goldberg is responding to this hearing. The fact is that, hey, they are claiming, Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe are claiming that there was no classified information here, okay? And now people are saying, well, release the documents. Jeffrey Goldberg is now feeling heat and responding to this call for releasing the documents since Tulsi Gabbard and John Ratcliffe claimed that it's not classified information. There was no classified information in the text. Take a look.
Many, many different layers and complexities and technical information looks like. Okay.
So let's go to that national security lawyer question then, because I think, look, if the White House, now the Secretary of Defense and the White House press secretary have said you're lying, have said there are no war plans there, have said there's no classified information. So the obvious question is, shouldn't you now demonstrate it? Shouldn't you publish the text?
No, because they're wrong. They're wrong.
But how can you prove that you're wrong? Maybe should you provide them to the House and Senate Special Committees on Intelligence? Maybe. I don't know.
Wow. Well, you want to become my lawyer?
I'm throwing this out there, Jeff. I don't know. I mean, look.
I feel like no. I mean, I obviously. Let me just put it this way: my colleagues and I, and the advice that and the people who are giving us advice on this have some interesting conversations to have about this.
Yeah.
But just because they're irresponsible with material doesn't mean that I'm going to be irresponsible with this material. And you know what? I could, whatever. I mean, you've had a long history, as I have, with dealing with them. And at moments like this, when they're under pressure because they've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar or whatever, they will just literally say anything to get out of the moment, to get out of the jam. And that's okay. I get it. I get the defensive reaction. And but here's the thing. My obligation, I feel, is to the idea that we take national security information seriously. And maybe in the coming days, I'll be able to let you know that, okay, I have a plan to have this material vetted publicly. But I'm not going to say that now because there's a lot of conversations that have to happen about that.
Yeah. So basically, the Trump administration officials are calling Jeffrey Goldberg's bluff, right? They're saying that he is not credible, right? And that this story is being overblown. The cabinet secretaries, at least John Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard, have said that this information is not classified or that they weren't discussing classified information in that Signal chat. Now, again, the ball is kind of in Jeffrey Goldberg's court in the sense that since they say it's not classified, then it's like, okay, well, now, hey, there's going to be a lot of pressure for him to release the information that he claims is classified, right? He claims that all these details were discussed, and I'm not saying that he's making it up. I don't know. I'm just saying that he is going to have to release the information if he wants to prove that what he said was true, right? In the sense that there was classified information that was being discussed. Clearly, the text that he did put out, he didn't think were classified, right? Because again, if he thought they were classified, he would not have put them out, right? I'm just saying, that's just using basic logic. So he hasn't revealed the classified information yet. We haven't seen it. The Trump administration says there is no classified information, but the Democrats and the mainstream liberal media swap it down. There is, right? So now Jeffrey Goldberg is going to have to prove that he has the goods, right? The goods that he says that he has, that he claims, the intricate details, right? War plans, right? He's going to have to prove that he has it. Now, I don't know how he goes about doing it without going to jail, right? But, at this point, the ball is in his court, right? They say it's not classified, which he can probably use as his defense in court that, Tulsi and John Ratcliffe said it's not classified. So who knows? Maybe that's how he'll try to release this, right? He'll try to cover himself, but he's going to have to show the goods. Some way, somehow, I think he's going to have to show the goods, or else this story is going away, right? I guarantee you, if Jeffrey Goldberg can't show the goods, this story is going away like that, right? We're not going to hear about it anymore, okay? Because basically, it will confirm that he was BSing, right? He was BSing, okay? And that he tried to make a mountain out of a molehill, right? Which, that's my guess in regards to what's going on here, but I don't know. If he does have the goods and he can show that John Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard lied, right, about it not being classified information, then, again, that makes this, again, a whole lot more interesting. We're going to see what happens, but let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.